Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the instructions in the video description.
So I have a deep stacked triple barrel here.
Okay.
I just wanted you to take a look at it.
Sure.
So we're playing 10-handed, first of all.
10-handed.
2-5, 200 big blind. Yeah, unfortunately, we play 10-handed up to Niagara Falls.
Yep.
So it's 2-5, 200 big blind cap.
Okay.
We're 1,700 effective, and we're middle position 2 with ace of diamonds, jack of spades.
Hero with ace of diamonds, jack of spades, and MP2. Okay.
So Under the Gun +1 is the main villain. He's a reg I've played with a bunch. He's a taggish sort of reg. He's okay. He's not great. He definitely raises too much in early position. Like I saw him raise queen jack off from Under the Gun +1 once. So we have a little bit of history with him, but not too much.
Okay.
So he opens for 20, which is standard open in this game. I normally would just fold to an early position raise, being in middle position, or maybe flat call.
Right.
I decide to flat call. Three betting is an option too, I guess, but it seems a little light due to the positions.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that a lot of times, sometimes you can take a three-better fold type of approach, though, to early position raises, because you're just going to gain so much by, getting position over the field. You know, I mean, I think it's one of the things that I've rounded off in my game is just being in the middle sucks. You know what I mean? Have I called raises with ace-jack offsuit middle position? Sure. Absolutely. But the earlier you are, actually, the more it benefits you to take a three-better fold strategy. But okay, you call.
Yeah, so we call. It ends up going three-way because the big blind calls.
Okay, so you have position, though.
Yeah,
okay.
We do have position.
Yep.
Yes. Flop is 8 of hearts, 9 of spades, 10 of spades. Villain c-bets 25 after the big blind checks.
Okay.
And I decided to start running a bluff. I believe with my blocker, my jack of spades blocker especially, I'll often get folds here or be able to blast the turn. So I raise it up to 80, and the big blind folds, and the villain calls.
All right, so you raise to 80, big blind folds, and UTG1 calls. Let's talk about this for a second here. Just talk about your terminology a little bit. So he's betting 25 into 60 on this wet board, which is a little bit kind of on the strange side, I feel like, although it might not be that terrible with his sizing. We talk about like kind of this really hits a field player's calling range quite a bit. So when somebody c-bets here, they really shouldn't have like ace king of hearts. You know what I mean? If he's any type of player, right? So if he makes like a protection bet with like queens or something like that, I guess he can bet. I'm just thinking from, like I said, we learned this stuff on top section, from like an optimal sense or from a theory sense, you can bet a little bit smaller just for equity protection value. So the bet size is not absolutely insane, although you will see a lot of people check this board as a preflop raiser. So you raise to 80. I mean, I think that is okay. I don't know about your you just have an open-end. You're semi-bluffing, right? You get an open-end straight draw.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly, yeah.
I would prefer to have the ace of spades in my hand and do this with ace-jack off with the ace of spades, and obviously continue to barrel spade turns, because that means that he can't have the nut flush draw. So when you say, oh, I've got the jack of spades blocker, that's not really it's not really relevant in the sense that, I mean, yeah, you have a jack of spades and you're open-ended, but I think having the ace of spades would actually be more of a relevant sort of blocker type of hand. I mean, this is just terminology, but the way that you want to think about it. Now, yeah, you have the jack of spades, which means he can't have the jack of spades, but yeah, big deal. But, when he bets 25 and you raise to 80 and he calls, I mean, primarily his hands are going to be, jacks plus. If he's any type of player, he's not going to 3-bet sets. Could have a set, and he could have like a flush draw or something like that. So he makes the call. All right, so we go to the turn.
Yeah, and I was thinking some of the things you think, like with his range on this flop, he shouldn't be betting too often. So I often have a stronger range, like more of a nut advantage with this flop. But anyways, so I think that you're right as well. Like he's going to continue with a lot of overpairs, yeah. So turn is a 5 of clubs.
Okay.
He checks, and I barrel 150.
Okay.
He calls. River is 4 of clubs. He checks, and I think at this point, it's pretty often that I'll be able to get him to fold a strong overpair, like a queens or kings. I think that I'm repping a pretty strong part of my range here, which hits the spot pretty well. So I bet 500.
So 25 to 80 call, pot's like maybe 220. You bet 150 into 220 on the turn. He calls. So now the pot's what, 520? And the river here is
I bet around pot.
Yeah, so you bet around pot. I mean, yeah, I mean, okay. All these things are partials. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I mean, if you were going to start this from the start, then yeah, sure, you can do it. I mean, the thing is that, again, technically, like, it would probably be a slightly better combo if you had, say, for example, ace, jack of hearts here, where you started with, overcard, open-ended, backdoor flush draw on the flop, and you don't have spades in your hand. That's slightly better. It's actually better to not have spades here than to have spades. The question, I mean, I got to be honest with you, like, and I know we talk about this in theory, and it doesn't really come up that much, but at this stack depth, if you're playing this deep, you might want to even over-polarize here. What I mean by over-polarize is, like, you might even want to overbet the river here. 700 or 800 to give him less of a price. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, on that type of run out, I might bet huge. And I might even do that for value too. It depends on the type of player that he is. Like, if I think he's going to hear it, like, listen, like, if there's guys that are just super sticky, right, and they're never going to fold over pairs, I would overbet for value here for sure. And then if it's a guy that, like, he's an okay player, I think you can polarize here. So you might consider going like 800 here, which is not necessarily all that common of a line. What ended up happening?
He tanked for about 5 minutes and folded.
Okay.
So I think that I really like your overbet line because, especially, holding the ace of spades would be better because we kind of, I think actually, ace jack of hearts would be better, like what you're saying, is because we unblock a lot of the spades. But he ended up folding, and I think the overbet line's a lot better, because then it's just so much harder for him to call with any like overpair and one pair hands.
Yeah, and you can sort of vary it too. Like, you can sometimes when you have like very, very large combo draws on the turn, we've talked about this where you can overbet turn and sometimes give up on rivers. And then there are other times like this where you can actually vary your turn bet to something that's a little bit smaller, like half to 2/3. And then if the board, because you sort of have a good kind of a nice little bluff hand here, because when the board does run out scary, you're going to have it basically, and you can represent the spade, especially if you had the ace of spades in your hand. But even if the board like runs out total like blank, like it did, right? Like 5-4. The board is so good for your range here, I feel like, especially with the amount of sort of even sometimes offsuit broadways that people play. When you look at this, I don't know how many you probably don't call with queen jack. I mean, I assume that you call with 6-7 suited. So you might have 6-7 suited and you might have queen jack suited, but you have all the sets. Now he can have the sets too, obviously, but I think that it is he's going to have like a strong overpair, and then just like put it this way, like if I had if I had like kings or queens with a spade in my hand here and I'm him, like it's a real dicey call for me to make on the river when nothing changes, because I look at the flop, like look at the board and I'm like, what are you bluffing with here? That's not paired up. That, you know what I mean? Like, you'd have to have a hand like you do, which is great, because like a lot of people don't run that bluff,
Yeah. Forces this stuff with the jack of spades specifically, because we kind of like block some of his spade hands that would fold the river.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.